Fox News alert out of Connecticut. That state now boasting the nation's toughest gun restrictions ever. This is video of Governor Dan Malloy moments ago signing the sweeping new gun limits into law. That new law bans more than 100 types of firearms, requires background checks on all gun purchases, and bans the sale of ammunition magazines that hold more than 10 rounds. Some of those measures take effect immediately. Lawmakers approved that sweeping legislation in response to the tragedy at Sandy Hook Elementary School. Many parents from Newtown have voiced support in favor of these controversial gun rules. Joining me now to discuss it, Wayne Lapierre. He's the Executive Vice President and CEO of the National Rifle Association. And so the support for this new set of laws in Connecticut was not universal, but many of the Newtown parents got behind it, Wayne. And I want to ask you, because CBS has released to us a soundbite. On 60 Minutes, they'll be airing some interviews with Newtown parents who sat down with Scott Pelley. And this is, in part, why they believe they need these new laws, and they want, in particular, the limitation on the magazines, the amount of ammo that you're allowed to carry around. Listen to Scott Pelley and a couple of the Newtown families.
The legislature has decided to limit the size of magazines in Connecticut to 10 rounds. The gunman at Sandy Hook was using 30-round magazines. Now, I've heard the argument made, you can change these magazine clips in these rifles in a matter of 2 seconds. So what difference does it make?
Well, I mean, there was one instance where it wasn't 2 seconds, and it allowed 11 kids to get out of a classroom.
Yeah.
Tell me about that.
It's just a simple arithmetic. If you have to change magazines 15 times instead of 5 times, you have 3 times as many incidences where something could jam, something could be bobbled. You just increase the time for intervention, you increase the time frame where the kids can get out. And there's 11 kids out there today that are still running around on the playground pretty much now at lunchtime.
Who escaped from these classrooms.
Right.
He left the smaller capacity magazines at home. That was a choice the shooter made. He knew that the larger capacity magazine clips were more lethal.
It's powerful to listen to, those families directly affected say, if Adam Lanza, the shooter at Newtown, had not had 30-round magazines, if he had only had 10 rounds in these guns, more children would have lived. Your thoughts?
Well, I think the problem with what Connecticut did, Megan, is the criminals, the drug dealers, the people that are going to do horror and terror, they aren't going to cooperate. I mean, all you're doing is making the law books thicker for the law-abiding people. And, I mean, from the very start, my thought has been how little of this has to do with actually keeping kids safe and how much it has to do with this decade-long agenda against firearms that some of the political class and the media have had. What NRA is focused on is what we actually believe will make people safe, which is if you're going to stop something horrible from happening in a school, put police officers that are certified armed security in every school. Fix the broken mental health system that's broken from one end of this country to the other. And the third thing, one gun or one round in the hand of a criminal or somebody mentally dangerous is too many, and we need to get that person off the street, interdict them, incarcerate them if they're criminals before they get to their next crime scene. If they're mentally defective, intercept them and get them off the street and get them into treatment. And that's what the NRA is focusing on, is things that actual work.
I appreciate that, and I understand you articulate your position well, but if I could circle you back to that, because if there's anything that moves people in this country, or has moved them in one direction or the other recently, it is that Newtown tragedy. And you hear the parents and the spouses of those killed, so there were 20 children and 6 adults killed, say 11 children had the chance to escape as that guy reloaded. And the father, or the one man saying there, if he had had to reload 5 times instead of 1 time, how many more lives would have been saved? That is, to me, the most compelling argument. That is revealed in the most compelling way anyone has yet revealed the argument for this limitation on ammo. And I'd love to get your response.
Well, my response is that the criminals aren't going to have less. one round in the hand of someone that's going to do horror is too many.
But how do you know, Wayne? Because Adam Lanza, let me just jump in, I'll give you the floor, I promise. But Adam Lanza, you know, his mother was a legal gun owner. And how do you know that this person, that his mother would not have obeyed the law and limited the magazine clip, and then Adam Lanza would have been limited to 10 rounds instead of 30?
Megan, people that know guns, you can change magazine clips in a second. There's no evidence that anything would have changed. I mean, the fact is, if you're a homeowner, though, and you have someone coming through your door in the middle of the night, why should you be limited to 3 rounds or 4 rounds like Mayor Bloomberg wants to do?
What about 10?
I mean, the fact is the criminals aren't going to be limited. People want magazines for the same reason police carry 17-round magazines to protect Capitol Hill. You may need them for protection if something horrible is happening. Most robberies involve, a third of robberies involve multiple intruders. And, you know, people want them for the same reason police want them, for the same reason the Capitol Hill is protected by them, why should you be limited to what some politician believes is reasonable?
I do want to tell the viewers that that the New York Times was reporting, based on interviews with the parents, that officials have said he fired Lanza 154 shots in about 4 minutes, and that the parents claim that they have been told that in the time it took him to reload in one of the classrooms, 11 children were able to escape. So that's from where I'm getting my information from. But I understand I understand your counterpoint, Wayne, and that's what I was looking for, and the viewers will decide on that. But I want to ask you, there's a lot I want to get through. Universal background checks, and we're coming up against a hard break, so we'll carry you over. But universal background checks, latest Fox News poll, 85% of the American people support it, including 81% of homes with gun owners in them. I mean, look at the across the partisan divide. 90% of Democrats favor it, 83% of Republicans, 82% of independents. Why don't you favor it, Wayne?
We supported the check on retail sales. We were promised it would be fair, instant, accurate. It's none of those. There are all kinds of delays. The mental health records are not in the system. Nobody's prosecuted. It turns out to be a speed bump for the law-abiding people. Now what they want to do is take this and extend it to 100 million law-abiding gun owners.
Yeah, and you think it's not necessary. My apologies because of hard break, but I'll carry you over. We'll pick it up in 2 minutes. Thank you, sir. Hate the hard breaks. Wayne Lapierre is back with me now. Thank you, sir, for waiting with us, and I'll let you finish your point about the universal background checks.
Well, the whole thing is a dishonest premise, because criminals aren't going to be checked, and the mental health records, the Adam Lanzas, the Lofners, the James Holmes and Aurora, they aren't going to be in the system either. So it's going to be you and me. The drug gangs, these people that do all kinds of horrible things, they're not going to say, hey, let's go down to Walmart, let's go down to the police station, let's fill out the forms, let's pay the fees, let's put our name in that system. It's not going to happen. You're going to end up with 100 million law-abiding people paying fees, paying taxes, being inconvenienced, affecting no criminals, simply lining up all the good people and putting their name in a registry. And once people find that out, they go, I'm not in favor of that. I see President Obama out there on the campaign trail. Everybody ought to hold up a sign that says 90, because if he really, really wanted to make a difference, Chicago wouldn't be 90th of 90 in the United States in terms of enforcing the federal gun laws on drug dealers with guns, gangs with guns, and felons with guns. Chicago is dead last in the United States. That case the president keeps talking about with that poor young girl that was killed, that guy had been picked up on a gun charge, that gang member, put out on the street on probation, had been rearrested 3 times for break-ins and for trespassing, and still left on the streets, and was never prosecuted under federal law at all.
There is no question that Chicago gun law enforcement is extremely wanting. I want to move on to another point, though, speaking of President Obama, because he spoke in Colorado yesterday, which has also just passed tough gun control measures, and said that the opponents of some of these, quote, common sense laws have ginned up fears, and it feeds into this suspicion about government. And then he went on to say this, Wayne.
You hear some of these quotes. I need a gun to protect myself from the government. We can't do background checks because the government's going to come take my guns away. Well, the government's us. These officials are elected by you. They are elected by you. I am elected by you. I am constrained as they are constrained by a system that our founders put in place.
Your thoughts on that?
Yeah, this is somebody that handed out flyers, his campaign did, around the country saying he's a strong supporter of the Second Amendment. He said personally, I'll never try to ban your rifle, shotgun, and handgun, and that before the campaign, and now he's trying to ban all three. I mean, asking the American public to believe promises from politicians in this town, Washington, D.C. right now is a pretty tall order. And if they get a registry of all the law-abiding people, I watched those politicians break their promise in the United Kingdom, and I bet they do it here. But what they really need to do is fix the mental health system, enforce the federal gun laws, and put school security in there that will actually protect people. And let's start doing things that actually make people safer in this country. We're not doing it.
Before I let you go, I want to ask you, you've taken a lot of heat over the past few months for the remarks you made in the wake of Newtown. Some of the Newtown families were upset because they got robocalls in Connecticut from the NRA shortly after. Actually, recently, it was, I think, in March, and they thought it was insensitive.
Well, it was just recently in regard to this legislation that was in Connecticut that we believe only affects the law-abiding people. It lines up all the good guys.
Do you regret that, though, Wayne? I mean, do you regret the robocalls going to the Newtown families, or do you regret anything about your tone in the immediate wake of the Newtown shootings?
Megan, I think our tone was what makes America safe. We're saying it louder than anybody. Enforce the federal gun laws. They're not doing it. Put armed security in the schools. Fix the mental health system. The media, they may not like it. They're screaming to the rafters for all this gun ban agenda. I think the American public is seeing through it and saying, I don't want that imposed on me. I want those politicians to... everything that happened might have been stopped but for deficiencies in the mental health system and the criminal justice system. Let's fix those and let's put school security on top of it and make people safe.
Got it. Wayne Lapierre, thank you so much. I appreciate you being here.
Thanks, Megan.
All the
Thanks
best.
for having me.
And we're taking your thoughts on it. I mean, these are difficult issues on which the American people are sharply divided. I mean, in terms of the assault weapons ban in particular, not so much on the universal background checks. But would love to hear your thoughts on it. Follow me on Twitter. Let me know your thoughts, @Megyn Kelly.